Hey guys, happy Monday. If there was ever a topic that I wish that I could be in front of you for, it is this topic. Like I said, it's fun. There's simulations. I'm gonna try to do the best that I can, given my resources. I think I got a little crafty in this video, so I guess we'll see how that goes. You guys see you have an ed puzzle. It's an econ movies. It's Dark Knight. It's awesome. One of my favorite of all of Clifford's ed puzzles. Just throwing that out there. All right, let's get going. This is information that you guys already have written down. I just really wanted to focus on one thing in particular, and it's this language right here. It's so important. It's going to come up all the time in free response questions. I hope that you guys get a free response question on oligopolies or on a payoff matrix, which you guys will learn about more tomorrow. But that mutual interdependence is so important because a lot of times what one firm does is based on what they know another firm is going to do. So the decisions of one affect the decisions of the other. So that's really that whole idea behind mutual interdependence. I gave you guys some examples, the cell phone carriers, the cereal manufacturers. So just giving you guys examples of oligopolies, even though I know that you guys did this already for me. All right, let's keep going. So going back to the activity that we did with Candy, we said that we knew that they could go and cooperate, these oligopolies, to raise each other's profit. And that when they all work together like that, it somewhat forms what we call a cartel, where again, they're going to agree to obey output restrictions in order to increase their joint profits. So they're not all going to produce and produce and produce, otherwise there'd be overproduction and then they can't charge as much. So they actually limit output so that they could raise prices, but that's something you don't necessarily want to cheat on. And again, if I were in front of you, I would give you the don't cheat on the cartel, which is very, Breaking Bad of me to say to you. But I feel like in the real world, don't cheat on the cartel. But for this, for fun simulations, cheat on the cartel. It's just candy. They may also engage in non-cooperative behavior, which is essentially cheating on the cartel, ignoring the effects of their actions on each other's profits. And you guys remember when, someone in that oligopoly group would try to sell their candy for even a penny less than what the group agreed on. So that's really that non-cooperative behavior. All right. This is a simulation I would do with you if we were in class. So I'm going to read to you guys the simulation, and I want you guys to actually act as though I were asking you specifically. So this is the ice cream man simulation, and I give you the following parameters. You're an ice cream salesman at the beach. You have identical prices as another salesman. Beachgoers will purchase from the closest salesman. People are evenly distributed along the beach, even though this is just a random picture that I found. Each morning, the two firms pick locations on the beach, and firm A decides where to go first. So where will firm A set up? So I want you to think like you are firm A. And I want you to kind of like, and I'm just like rando putting like an X, but let's just say, you can just go and mentally put an X somewhere. Where would you put yourself? And I want you to really think about where you would go and put yourself. So now think about another firm, not you, because you were firm A and you got to pick anywhere you wanted on the beach. Now, based on what you, firm A, did yesterday, the day before, what do you think firm B will try to do when they get to go first the next day? They wake up extra early and they set up shop first. Where do you think they will set up? So what I want you guys to think about was, what is the best strategy for choosing a location? Would you be able to predict the end result every single day? And how is this observed in the real world? Okay, so now I thought I got a little crafty, and I embedded a video that I would have showed you if we were in class, and it's a great video because it actually does show this phenomenon, why stores tend to congregate in areas to gain market share, that there's actually economics, specifically game theory, behind this and how it affects strategic decisions.
Why are gas stations always built right next to other gas stations? Why is it that I can drive for a mile without finding a coffee shop and then stumble across three on the same corner? Why do grocery stores, auto repair shops, and restaurants always seem to exist in groups instead of being spread evenly throughout a community? While there are several factors that might go into deciding where to place your business, clusters of similar companies can be explained by a very simple story called Hotelling's Model of Spatial Competition. Imagine that you sell ice cream at the beach. Your beach is 1 mile long and you have no competition. Where would you place your cart in order to sell the most product? In the middle. The 1/2 mile walk may be too far for some people at each end of the beach, but your cart serves as many people as possible. One day you show up at work just as your cousin Teddy is arriving at the beach with his own ice cream cart. In fact, he's selling exactly the same type of ice cream as you are. You agree that you will split the beach in half. In order to ensure that customers don't have to walk too far, you set up your cart a 1/4 mile south of the beach center, right in the middle of your territory. Teddy sets up a 1/4 mile north of the center, in the middle of Teddy territory. With this agreement, everyone south of you buys ice cream from you. Everyone north of Teddy buys from him, and the 50% of beachgoers in between walk to the closest cart. No one walks more than a 1/4 of a mile, and both vendors sell to half of the beachgoers. Game theorists consider this a socially optimal solution. It minimizes the maximum number of steps any visitor must take in order to reach an ice cream cart. The next day, when you arrive at work, Teddy has set up his cart in the middle of the beach. You return to your location a 1/4 mile south of center and get the 25% of customers to the south of you. Teddy still gets all of the customers north in Teddy territory, but now you split the 25% of people in between the two carts. Day 3 of the ice cream wars, you get to the beach early and set up right in the center of Teddy territory, assuming you'll serve the 75% of beachgoers to your south, leaving your cousin to sell to the 25% of customers to the north. When Teddy arrives, he sets up just south of you, stealing all of the southerly customers and leaving you with a small group of people to the north. Not to be outdone, you move 10 paces south of Teddy to regain your customers. When you take a midday break, Teddy shuffles 10 paces south of you and again steals back all the customers to the far end of the beach. Throughout the course of the day, both of you continue to periodically move south towards the bulk of the ice cream buyers until both of you eventually end up at the center of the beach, back to back, each serving 50% of the ice cream-hungry beachgoers. At this point, you and your competitive cousin have reached what game theorists call a Nash equilibrium, the point where neither of you can improve your position by deviating from your current strategy. Your original strategy, where you were each a 1/4 mile from the middle of the beach, didn't last because it wasn't a Nash equilibrium. Either of you could move your cart towards the other to sell more ice cream. With both of you now in the center of the beach, you can't reposition your cart closer to your furthest customers without making your current customers worse off. However, you no longer have a socially optimal solution, since customers at either end of the beach have to walk further than necessary to get a sweet treat. Think about all the fast food chains, clothing boutiques, or mobile phone kiosks at the mall. Customers may be better served by distributing services throughout a community, but this leaves businesses vulnerable to aggressive competition. In the real world, customers come from more than one direction, and businesses are free to compete with marketing strategies by differentiating their product line and with price cuts. But at the heart of their strategy, companies like to keep their competition as close as possible.
Hopefully that video showed you a good example of why we have to be strategic when it comes to pricing and location. And game theory is essentially that study of how people behave in these strategic situations, and understanding it's going to be important for us to understand how these firms will actually end up maximizing profits. All right, so why learn about this? Again, going back to that idea, using that same type of language, that oligopolies are interdependent. Again, and I really like mutually interdependent. That's going to be super important, since they compete with only a few other firms. And again, their decisions are often based on what another firm will do. So us going and learning this is going to help us analyze the strategies to make the best decisions for maximizing profit and, of course, minimizing losses. If you've ever seen the movie A Beautiful Mind, you know about John Nash, an awesome math movie. But this actually is a fun yet interesting way of explaining the Nash equilibrium and how he goes about basically using it in a social setting.
Yeah, you might want to start shuffling your papers for 5 seconds.
I will not buy you gentlemen beer.
Oh, we're not here for beer, my friend.
Anyone else just moving in slow motion?
Does she want a large wedding, you think? This is swords, gentlemen. Pistols at dawn.
How do you remember nothing? Recall the lessons of Adam Smith, father of modern economics.
In competition, individual ambition shows the common goal.
Exactly.
Every man for himself, and those who strike out are stuck with their friends.
I'm not going to strike out.
You can lead a blonde to water, but you can't make a drink. All right, nobody move. She's looking over. Look at Nash.
All right, he may have the upper hand now, but wait until he opens his mouth.
Adam Smith needs revision.
What are you talking about?
If we all go for the blonde, we block each other. Not a single one of us is going to get her. So then we go for our friends. But they will all give us the cold shoulder because nobody likes that second choice. Well, what if no one goes for the blonde? We don't get in each other's way. And we don't insult the other girls. It's the only way we win. That's the only way we all get laid. Adam Smith said, the best result comes from everyone in the group doing what's best for themselves, right? That's what he said, right? Incomplete. Okay? Because the best result will come from everyone in the group doing what's best for themselves. And the group.
This is some way for you to get the blonde on your own. You can go to hell.
Governing dynamics, gentlemen. Governing dynamics. Adam Smith.
What's wrong?
Here we go.
Thank you.
So hopefully all those videos worked for you. Tomorrow we're going to do what's called the payoff matrix, where we're actually going to put into practice what Nash thought up. So how, if we think about the group, how that will affect us, and then how, if we just think about ourselves, our outcomes change. So you guys are going to watch an ed puzzle tonight for homework, and you guys are going to start to learn a little bit about this concept, dominant strategy, Nash equilibrium, where again, based on the option that you choose, you result in different outcomes. So again, sometimes it's to benefit you, and sometimes when you collude and you try to agree on something that's going to benefit both, that you can both profit from it. but it's when you go and you cheat on that cartel or you cheat on that agreement that you can maximize profits. But if you both cheat, you both lose. So that's where it becomes that prisoner's dilemma. And we're going to learn about that tomorrow. It's one of my favorite things to teach. And I hope that you guys enjoy the Ed Puzzle and enjoy your day. All right. Have a good day, guys. Bye.